from those who have wronged themselves. The Prophet ﷺ then said, there's no Muslim who will say this or ask Allah by this in anything except that Allah will reply to him. This is in al-Tirmidhi, and Sheikh al-Albani rahimahullah authenticated it. Then the Sheikh now continues, Sheikh Abdurrazzaq, and says, so these four ahadith, which are great, which are authentic, established from the Prophet ﷺ, in them is the treatment or the cure for stress or being trouble or grief which somebody is touched with. And in them is the cure for stress and sadness and anxiety. He said, and by Allah, wallahi, he swears, and he said, by Allah, of whom there is no other Lord except Him, who really deserves to be worshipped except Him. When somebody says these du'as or this dhikr, contemplating and pondering over their meanings, actualizing what they necessitate, there's nothing which will remain in his heart from the stress or the anxiety or the worries, even for a weight of an atom. Because they are du'as or they are cures which are beneficial, and they are treatments which are blessed, and they are the medicine for what is in their hearts. But the Muslim, it is obligatory on him, when he says these adhkaar which are blessed, that he ponders over their meanings, and that he knows what they necessitate, and that he actualizes what they point to. Ponders over their meanings, he knows what they necessitate, and he actualizes what they point to. The ulama say, the scholars say, saying the adhkaar which are legislated, all the adhkaar, and the du'as which are legislated, without knowing their real meanings, and without understanding what they point to, this will lead to a weakness in their effect. They won't be very effective. Without knowing their real meanings and without knowing what they point to. And their benefit will be small. Their benefit will be small. And because of this, he says we need to know the meanings of what we've mentioned. We need to know the meanings of what we say of the adhkaar when we remember Allah. He says, many of us, we say these adhkaar which are legislated, and we actually are constant on them. We say them like every day, but we don't stop and look at their meanings and contemplate of what they necessitate. So their effect on our lives is very small, or their effect is very limited. But if we are to stop and to contemplate over these adhkaar, these four adhkaar which he mentioned from the Prophet ﷺ, that they are the cure for grief, we'll find that they all have one similarity, or they are all combined in one similar thing. And that is actualizing tawheed, which is the thing which Allah has created us for. Actualizing tawheed. And the thing which Allah originated us, for us to actualize. Tawheed, which is, what is tawheed? Tawheed is إخلاص العبادة لله وإخلاص الطاعة له سبحانه وتعالى. Making all the acts of worship sincerely for Him, and making all obedience sincerely for Him. This is the thing which drives away, or this is the thing somebody runs to or turns to when he is in a state of grief. And all times when he is stressed or when he is in anxiety or grieved. And there's nothing which will wipe away stress or grief or anxiety or worries except when you actualize tawheed to Allah. And we turn to Allah and we make all of this deen sincerely for Him. Blessed and exalted is He. He says, the Sheikh says, and contemplate, oh dear reader, or brother who is reading, contemplate with me these 4 adhkar. Now he's going to explain these 4 adhkar. The first one, the hadith of Ibn Abbas, that the Prophet ﷺ said, that he used to say in times of grief, لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم لا إله إلا الله رب العرش الكريم رب العرش العظيم لا إله إلا الله رب السماوات ورب الأرض ورب العرش الكريم. When somebody is troubled or somebody in a state of apprehension, when he says this blessed dhikr, and he's contemplating over its meaning, and when he stops and looks at what this dhikr is actually saying, the Sheikh now is going to break it down line by line. The first thing you say, La ilaha illallah. He is remembering the tawheed of Allah. There is none who deserves to be worshipped except Allah. And that he has been created for tawheed. And that has been originated for the purpose of actualizing this statement, what this statement necessitates, which is, there is none who deserves to be worshipped except Allah. That he busies his heart and his time and his life for La ilaha illallah. He has been created because of this. And this tells us now, this obligates us to know that, or to make La ilaha illallah, that it is the greatest concern for a human being. To worship Allah only. And that it becomes the most thing, or the best thing which you busy yourself with. And the greatest thing which you are concerned with. Because he says, indeed you are not created except for this purpose. And you're not originated except to actualize this. So this is your real goal or your real purpose of creation. And it is the foundation behind Allah originating human beings. As Allah said, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And surely not, Allah says, surely what means, and surely did not create the jinns or the ins, the humans, except that they worship me. Allah did not create the humans or the ins except that, the jinns or the humans except that, for La ilaha illallah. And it means, what does it mean? It means إخلاص عبادة لله, making all acts of worship sincerely for Allah and making the whole religion sincerely for Allah. This is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah meaning there's none who deserves to be worshipped truthfully except Allah. So here there is negation and affirmation. You negate ubudiyya, servitude, to everything else except Allah. And you affirm servitude, ubudiyya, in all of its meanings to only Allah. So the one who says La ilaha illallah, he does not ask except Allah. And he does not seek help except from Allah. And he does not turn to except to Allah. And he does not depend on anybody except Allah. And he does not have tawakkul, does not rely except on anybody except Allah. And he does not seek any cure for his stress, or for his anxiety, or for his hardship, or for his sadness except from Allah. So he says, then after La ilaha illallah, he says, La ilaha illallah al-Azim al-Halim. He says, La ilaha illallah al-Azim